Well, we do appreciate you folks taking some time out of your day to join us here. So today, Mr. Bobby Fossen is going to be talking about how you can profit more using banners and Flexi. So how it's going to work is he will give you the 15-20 minute presentation on using banners and Flexi. And then after that, we will have a Q&A session. So if you do have any questions during the presentation, just go ahead and jot them down in the chat window there. And then we'll get to those afterwards. And if you have any other questions, whether it's about banners or just anything else concerning Flexi or the meaning of life, I'm sure Bobby will be able to answer it for you.
Thanks for putting me
up. With that, we'll go ahead and turn it over to Bobby.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for taking the time out of your business day. I know that's not always easy, but I really do appreciate you all taking the time to spend some time with me and maybe learn a little bit about how to save some money when you're actually producing banners in this instance while using the Flexi software. As we all know, the Flexi software is a tool, and the whole purpose of a tool is to actually save time or effort. So within this, the Flexi software has a lot of features and capabilities built into it that's going to allow you to save time during the actual creation of your design, which obviously points right down to your bottom line. It's also going to have a few features in there that's going to allow you to save time when it comes to actually finishing or producing your final output or your final job itself, and in this case, banners. But it also actually gives you the ability to estimate, using the RIP software, the actual ink usage. And I'm going to actually demonstrate for you, especially when it comes to banners, how you might be able to save a little bit of time and money, therefore generating a little bit more profit for each banner that you do during the day. And then during some of our workshops, I've had quite a few customers actually bring up the idea to me that they advertise on a lot of the banners that they actually produce, but they do it in somewhat of a discreet manner.
Sorry, yes. But a few people commented that they don't see anything.
But what I was getting at is the Flexi software, being a tool itself, is going to actually allow you to save a lot of time and effort when it comes to creating files, as well as actually finishing the product itself. And in this webinar, it's focusing on the banners themselves. So what we'll do is go in and actually show you how I've used the software in the past, as well as some of the customers in our webinars have actually brought this up to us, because they actually had a very, very nice tip on advertising and promotion that is going to do nothing but give you the opportunity to earn a little bit more on the work that you've already done. So what we're going to do is I'm going to minimize this screen here and pop open my other file. So as I was saying, labor time is probably one of the most expensive things when it comes to actually producing a banner. You obviously have material costs, so you have ink costs, you've got grommets, you've got hems and banner tape and things like that. But labor time and design and finishing the product is really where most of your money is actually spent. So what we're going to do is show you actually how to create a file, a template file for a banner, for those of you that may not be running version Flexi 12 or the subscriptions right now. But I'm also going to show you how to use the Flexi finishing tool within Production Manager to kind of automate some of these processes as well. So what we'll do is kind of start with a new file here. And what I'm showing in this file itself is when I zoom in, this image area is actually the finished print job or the banner itself. So what I've done, and I'll go ahead and I'm going to make a copy of this, move it up, and then I'm going to actually kind of reverse engineer this a little bit. We're going to get rid of a couple of things here that I've already created in the file and kind of show you how I actually produce these. All right. So if this is our finished banner job itself, I'm going to group that object. One of the nice things about this is I can actually create an outline or a rectangle around this object that would actually represent, when you finish printing the banner itself, you're going to need to actually cut that banner or trim it to then also be able to fold it if you're using double-sided banner tape in order to put grommets in it and things like that. So with this item here, I would go up to the effects menu and I would choose outline, and that's going to give me the ability in Design Central to tell it a very specific value. Most banner tapes are anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to inch, inch and a half. Some of them I've seen as 2 inch. Those are pretty strong stuff. Most of them are just 1 inch. And what I'll do is I'm going to actually change this to a transparent, and then I will actually go ahead and click on my checkbox. So now I have a 1 inch box around it. Now earlier when I was playing with this, I noticed a mistake that I made, and it's set by default right now. But it actually created 2 rectangles here, and it's because of this box right here. I want this to actually be a solid rectangle without the interior piece. So I'm going to check box there. And then from there, I can select it, and I'm going to actually separate that outline that we just created. The reason I'm doing that is I want to select this first and give it a stroke. I'm going to give it a fairly hefty size stroke, and to where we can actually see it on the screen. And then from there, I'm going to create, because this is actually going to represent the fold line itself. We'll create another outline on this object. Do pretty much the same thing. Again, fix my error here to make it a solid fill. And then I'll separate this again. And now this outside rectangle, I'm going to change the stroke to actually a dotted line. And I'm going to change the color just a little bit. So now when I zoom in and look at this, just the resolution on the screen, you'll see there's actually a dotted line around this. Let me thicken that up just a little bit so we can see it. So now we've actually created a banner that has the edge of our print. We also have a fold line that we're actually going to fold here, and a cut line. So we cut and we're going to fold over from there. So what we would be able to do is now, and then this is really handy whenever you're working in the older versions of the Flexi software. We're going to actually create a banner or a grommet. So I just go to my shapes tool and click and draw a circle, and I'm going to set this just to a 1/2 of an inch. And I'm going to move it to the bottom left-hand corner for right now. All right. So now, as you look back at the original, it's a matter of creating the multiple grommet marks on each of these. And again, this is what you're going to be doing if you do not have the current version of Flexi 12. We're going to actually go up to the Edit menu, and I'm going to go down, the Arrange menu, and go down to Step and Repeat. Now, Step and Repeat allows us to create multiple objects in a series. So I'm going to set up 4 and 2, but I'm going to decrease the size of these, or the gap in between them, just so I can actually see whereabouts they're going to actually fit in here. So obviously this is a small banner just for display purposes right now, but let's just change this up. So now I actually have these set. I'm going to increase the height of this. In order to actually place that where I want it to go. And then from there, I'm going to change the width, and you'll actually see that it's moving all 4 and it's distributing them properly, the spacing or gaps in between, which we could use the distribute function for this as well. So once I actually hit my checkbox here, now I have a banner with the pre-printed grommet marks on here. So how many of you actually run into production problems where you've printed a banner that was, let's say, 8 foot wide, or that was the design, and when it actually finished, and the next day you come in to actually fold and grommet and so forth, that banner didn't quite, or the print area didn't quite finish, or it stretched or shrunk just a little bit where it's not exactly 8 feet. But you told your production guy to put grommets every 2 feet. So what they do is a lot of times is they will start in one corner, then they measure from there to the center of the next one 2 feet, and there to 2 feet, and then it doesn't match, or as in the gaps in between are not even. So using Step and Repeat is a good way of actually creating even gaps all the way throughout your design in order to guarantee and make sure that after the job is printed, no matter what the material shrinks, stretches, or anything, it's still a consistent spacing to where you can actually put your grommets in place. Now, taking this a little bit farther, what I've done is I've actually selected or created a template. So if I delete this interior piece, I can select this image here, and then I can go up to the File menu and go to Templates, and I can actually save this as a template. So then at that point, when I go to open a template, I can choose a 4x8 banner that I've already created. I hit Select. That file's ready to go. All I need to do is drop my image inside of here and then have it ready to print. So that's one of the time savings that you can do during your designs. So if you have a lot of specific size banners that you're working with, take the time, draw this up, save it as a template, or save it as an individual file if you want to. And then from there, you can actually, output it a lot quicker from there. So another thing that was actually brought up to me at one of the workshops was a company was actually producing recreational baseball banners, like roster banners. And what they decided to do was actually take their company information, let me zoom out and show you, and actually create a logo right at the edge of the fold line. So when they actually take and fold this over, this logo and QR code in this case will actually be on the back side of the banner. And what they did is they actually went through and they repeated it along the top and the bottom. So that way, when people actually at the baseball field, they see the banner, they're going to look at it. They might want a banner, or their business might want a banner. They can flip it over, or they might take the time to flip it over and see your actual logo there. If you have a barcode on, or a QR code on it, they can scan it with their phone. And at that point, you can actually edit the information on that barcode or QR code to go to your website, or go to your text message or email or anything along that lines. Maybe even set up on your website a coupon code of some sort, maybe 10% off your next banner order, or some kind of referral fee or something along that lines. So going through and actually taking the time to create a couple of these templates of the different banners of different sizes with the pre-cut grommet marks and everything, you've got a big time savings there, where realistically you should be able to save anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes off of each and every banner job that you do. And if you're doing 5 or 10 of those a day, or even a week, that adds up and is going to actually save you some money. So hopefully that helps out. Now, other things in the banners that you can do is, if I go in and I create or open up one of my 4x8 templates here, very simple piece. And then from there, if I want to actually, if I have Flexi 12 or the subscription, I can go straight to the rip and print function. And I'm going to actually set up my media profile or media settings for banner material, or whatever options that I have. And then from there, I'm going to go back in and tell this to hold in list. Okay. So when I hit send, so let me make sure size-wise, we don't need it 400 inches. Let's just save it at 100%. And we'll go ahead and rotate this. So when I hit send now as hold in list, it's going to actually go up into the production manager queue. So I'll hit done. And at the bottom of my screen, I have my production manager. And there's the job that we just created. So if I double click on this, you'll notice you have a lot more capabilities in the tabs in Production Manager than you do in the standard rip and print screen. So with banners in specific, we actually have a finishing tool that will allow you, and let me maximize this so it's a lot easier for everybody to see. We'll actually have the option where you can plug in grommets, and you see just by default it already plugged in little white spots or circles there for each grommet that we have it programmed to do. So if I only want to do 2 vertical, as in 2, each of the corner as well as the top and bottom, or I want to decrease that from 4 to 5 or even 6 grommets, for example, it's all preset and able to be printed from there. Now, a lot of people don't want to actually print white, dots on their banner, but you can actually change the color. So we can change this to solid. We can change it to anything on there as well. Jackie's asking me some stuff. So from here, you'll also be able to create your fold lines directly from here. So this is actually going to print out, and we can actually go in and print a frame where it will actually print a black line, or whatever color that you have here, right around this edge. So that would actually be the cut line that you're actually going to fold over right to the edge of your print job from there. Okay, so you can actually vary this. So if it only needs to be 1 inch, you can change that. But I get this question quite a bit. Obviously, you see the gap on the sides are a lot different than they are on this side. Make sure you're checkboxing or checking this option here, and it will make sure everything stays proportional throughout the design. So if you actually change one left margin, it changes all of them to match, so you have consistency through there as well. Now, if you're actually taking this and outputting it, it guarantees that you're going to put an exact grommet in an exact spot. And it doesn't matter if it's exactly 24 inches apart or 27 or whatever from there, but it just makes your production team a lot faster. They don't have to pull out a measuring tape, have to take the time to run into this and, you know, make sure that, hey, the top matches the bottom. Because how many of you actually have ran across the top and measured across and then flipped your banner over and then started in the opposite corner and they still don't line up vertically? I've seen that quite a bit on baseball diamonds as well, on the home run fence and so forth. So just another way of saving a little bit of time. Now, you can also use this finishing tool for canvas prints. So if you wanted to actually, we'll uncheck grommets here, but if you wanted to actually if you're going to actually wrap this around a wood frame, you would actually be able to go in and create a bleed around this, and you can actually increase or decrease. And again, notice it's only changing the left value because I don't have this option checked here to lock all of those. So if I increase or decrease this value, it'll actually repeat the last few pixels onto those edges. So if you have a bitmap image, it'll actually repeat that edge over there as well. Now, one question that does come up is a lot of customers actually set this up in layout view, and then they zoom out, but they notice that even though repeat is on with bleed, it's still white. There's still voided blank space there. This is just showing you a layout or a preview of the layout. If you want to see what it's going to look like when you're finished or when it's outputted, you have to go to the finisher preview, okay? So with that, the other thing that we run into quite a bit for cost savings is going to be ink consumption. So with that, what we're going to do is I'm going to take these two files, which they're exactly the same file, the banner file that we created earlier. I'm going to actually double click and open one of these. So from here, I can go into my profile settings into the third tab and choose which settings that I want to actually output this as. So right now, this is a matte banner, 900 by 600 standard print mode, and this happens to be on just a Roland printer. So if you have a Mamaki, HP, and so forth, you may have a couple of different settings, but just keep in mind, normally you're going to have 2, if not 3 different print capabilities or print modes, high quality, standard, or high speed a lot of times. So what I'm wanting to get at here is banners don't always need to be printed at either standard or high quality mode. Most of you will never use high quality. Most profiles are not available in banner mode for high quality either. But I want to show you the difference between the two of these. So if this banner was going to be visible from, let's say, 10 or 15 feet away, and really not any closer than that, there's really no need to worry about going standard. You want to go high speed in order to finish the job faster. Now, the reason for that is once you select this job, we have an estimate function here. When you click on there, oh, I'm sorry, let me step back one thing. These are already ripped files. So you need to actually go ahead and rip the file. And once it's up in the queue, then you can select the job and then go to estimate. And it's going to give you this, this option window where I can go into configuration, tell it what inks I have, as in what colors are in there, as well as the size of the cartridge or bag, as well as the cost of those. So once I have those set, I would then click on the estimate button. Now, depending on the size of the file itself, it may take 20, 30 seconds. It could take a minute to chew on that file. But what I've done is actually created or set it up in the software here, or in my file, wrong one, where it kind of gives you an example of the two. For example, using billboard mode, which is the highest speed that you're going to be able to print out of that Roland on that banner that we just sent over, it's given us an estimation of total ink usage of approximately 85 cents. You can see that 600 by 600 DPI with 2 pass. So it's going to print pretty quick as well. Now, if we send it this same job in standard print mode, we're going to scroll down and look at the comparison. 900 by 600, 10 pass, still matte banner, 13 ounce. But you're at $2.45. So we've saved a little over $1.50 just in ink alone, just by saving that or changing that option. And from 15 feet away, you probably will not see the difference in the print quality whatsoever of those. You might see a little bit of banding depending on the type of material it is, but really, if it is a banner, it's an advertisement, save money where you can. And those $1.50 savings are going to start to add up again over the period of doing 10 banners a day. You're obviously at $15 a day. You multiply that out, you're going to start saving a lot of money. And a lot of that is simply done by using the Flexi tools and using the Flexi software to be smart about how you actually create your jobs. So be sure to always think about banners as in consider your labor time, and that's design and finishing, as well as the materials that you're using the profiles, and then doing an ink estimation in order to actually judge which one that you want to use and give you a ballpark idea of how much that whole job is going to cost. So that's pretty much going to wrap up the whole thing on banners. I hope that was actually somewhat helpful. There's quite a bit of other things that you can do with banners, but this is it in a nutshell on this webinar. And just make sure that if you're running a version that's older than Flexi 12, you're not going to have the finishing tool. So, which is the next to last tab here. If you are running Flexi 12 or the subscription, you should have that option in there. So be sure to play with those and make some setting changes and mess around with them, and you'll get the hang of it really quick. The software is very intuitive, easy to navigate. You just have to spend a few minutes learning about it. The last thing I want to show is questions on this type of thing. Make sure that you're always going over to the knowledge base. This goes directly to our website, and it's actually going to be an online help manual, and the way it's organized is extremely easy to navigate as well. So use that as a resource whenever you need it. And then with that, I'll just open it up to Stuart to take over from there.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Bobby. So we do have a couple questions. We've got a couple about making banners and templates and such. So first, earlier Rick asked, how can I copy a template I made to another computer?
I'm sorry, that kind of broke up a little bit. What was the question again?
Sorry about that. He said, how can I copy a template I made to another computer?
All right, so essentially, let's see, those are actually saved in a template folder. I don't remember the actual file path for that, but there is a file path in the software. You can also go into your templates, and once you actually you'll be able to save as a template, and you should be able to give it a name, and then from there give it let's see here, a template sample. Hit OK. It's then at that point where that was already a template, one or the other. See, let me just do this. So if we go to File, let's go to Templates, and let's open a template. It should give us some details there, but I believe it's actually a folder in the production, or in the SAI production folder, and I will get that information in order to actually get a full detail on that. But the easiest thing is, if you already have the file itself, open the template itself, and if you have it up on a network, you should be able to save it as a Flexi file, then open that Flexi file on the other computer, and then just go to templates and save template or save as a template. But I believe, let me pull this one back up. I was thinking it actually gave us a prompt, but I'll need to check on that, because I honestly forgot exactly what directory that's saved in, but you will be able to copy those over.
Okay, thank you, Bobby.
I just need to, if we can get your information or get a list, I'll send out an email on that, and might even have just a quick video tutorial on that. I don't want to browse. Let's see if I can't browse.
See if you can pull up the file folders.
Just to see where we might have that. We should have everything under the templates folder. There it is. So under the program, SAI, Flexi, whichever version that you have, there is a template folder. So you should be able to copy that entire folder over to the other computer. Just make sure that whatever templates that you're using, you also want to make sure that if there's fonts in that template or anything, make sure that their fonts folder match on the other computer as well. Otherwise, it's going to ask you or give you some trouble there.
Okay, excellent. So I had a question here from Brandy. Said, does it print the black line around the original when you add bleed?
Let's see. So whenever you select this, let's actually close and go back into Production Manager here. So when I select bleed, it will actually, I believe it does actually print that final line around it, because that is actually in the preview itself, or the finisher preview. So it should actually print that whole piece, and I believe it does print that line. I believe you can also go in and change it to white, to where it will, it won't print, but it's just going to on this option, it's going to repeat that edge. It should not actually print the line. The purpose of the bleed is to basically create an extension of the image itself. So with bleed checked only, it is not going to print that black line or white or whatever color that you chose at this point here.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to the next one here from Anthony. It said, can the grommets go in the fold area when using the finishing options?
Not right now. Even going in and actually changing this, actually they did. It is there. So here's what you've got to do. So let me actually maximize this to show you how to do that. So it's just like anything else, or most anything else in the Flexi software. When you're doing inlines and outlines, you can actually go in and tell it to set a negative value. So it'll actually put it up in the fold. The problem that we've got right now is it's going to put this one in that far corner, which that's going to be a problem. You're going to have to pop that one in yourself on your own. So it's possible to put them in the margin, yes, but it's not going to put that last one in the very corner for you.
Okay, makes sense. So let's see, we have one from Roger, said, where can I get proper media profiles?
Okay, so let's cancel here. Depends a lot on the media manufacturer, the printer type. I mean, there's a lot of variations and a lot of different things that's going to actually factor in. But in the software itself, on our cloud window, you do actually have the option for printer profiles. So when you click on printer profiles, you should be able to go in, choose the printer that you have, and then from there, you'll be able to click on download, and it's going to download a zip file of whatever profiles that we have available at that point in time. Then from there, you would unzip that file and add them into the production manager, where you would basically open up your file or any file, and you would choose here, and you can go to add, and then it's going to choose or give you the option to browse. You select all of the profiles that you're wanting to add that you downloaded and unzipped. You click on open, and it's actually now going to load those those profiles into that driver profile. Now, there are some instances where in the printer profiles we may not have certain profiles for a specific machine, a specific ink type, and so forth, and that's where you really need to kind of lean on either your reseller, your manufacturer, your media manufacturer, or possibly even your ink manufacturer to help out in getting proper profiles for those specific materials and inks.
Okay, fantastic. So looks like we have a follow-up for Andy's question about the grommets in the fold area. You said that when I use finishing options, it gives me a print error.
It gives you a print error. Okay. Only when you're using the finishing tool. What I would be interested to find out, for one, is it's a print error. I really want to find out and get details on which printer driver that you have, or which printer it is that you have, as well as what profile that you're using here. But more importantly, go up to the help menu, click on about. I really want to know exactly which build number and software ID that you have, because if you're on an older version or older build number, especially with some of the driver updates that have come out, I could definitely see there would be the possibility of a problem there. But that'd be something I would definitely want to actually get in touch with you directly, or have your dealer contact you in order for us to try to find out a little bit more. And what I will do is put this up here where it's fairly easy to get. if you would send me the software ID as well as the build number, or you could go to the help and click on about and just do a screenshot of this and send it over to me. I really want to find out those details, but be sure to include which printer manufacturer and driver that you're using as well.
Okay, thank you, Bob. So Anthony, Bobby will get that question there for you.
Okay.
So let's see. Okay, we do have a question from Matthew. It says, have an ongoing bug when placing grommets using PM version 12. When I have it set to use distance, it frequently places additional unwanted grommets in the banner, typically right on the border where half the grommet marks end up on the face of the banner. If I set it to the number of grommets I want instead, it has never happened. So just
All
when
right.
using
So
distance.
okay, so we bring this up. So you're choosing grommets, and we're actually choosing, instead of by number, we're actually choosing by distance and plugging this in. And we're increasing or decreasing the, well, let me lock that again. So we're increasing or decreasing here, or I'm not sure exactly where we're going with that, but again, it's one of those, I need to know the build number. It would be, without being able to actually reproduce it, it's hard to actually, pinpoint that. If it is an ongoing bug, we need to know exactly, again, which build number that you're at in order to actually do, check that. Now, there was an earlier problem with earlier service packs of the software in this tool, where you would change your preview settings, whether it be page or out, and we would get some odd things that actually popped up. So if you would try changing these settings and see if it actually makes any different while you make setting changes over here. But finish your preview is what you're normally going to be actually looking at, in order to actually set your values at the very end.
So he did say that I noticed something. If the grommet spacing is the same as the banner dimension is when it happens. Okay, so we'll want to take a closer look at that. Matthew, if you can go ahead and email those details to Bobby, we'll be able to look into that.
Yeah, unless this is what you're talking about. You see, with our set at 4.9, we've got a gap here, and then there's a smaller gap here. If that's what you're talking about as an extra one, it's basically distributing these, and I believe it's going to automatically put one in the corner, and that's a default value, I believe. So it's basically, it's taking taking this gap, dividing it out, and spacing them out as best it can. But there will be a certain amount or a certain amount of grommets in there that last section is not going to match exactly right. So maybe that's what you're referring to.
Okay. So yeah, if we can get those details, we'll go ahead and look further into that for you, Matt. So let's see, we had a question from Kelly. She said, we were talking about profiles earlier. But what happens if you use the wrong profile?
Well, number one, if we're printing, let's say, for example, on any solvent printers is a lot easier to see it or quicker to see it most of the time. But if we're actually printing on a gloss vinyl, for example, let's just choose an Oracal 3651, but then you turn around and that's what's loaded in your printer. If you turn around and put a matte banner profile in there or something, it's just going to dump a lot more ink onto your material. So you're not going to get good print results, for one. It's still going to allow you to print with no problem. It's just that you're not going to get good results. You always want to actually use a profile that matches the material that you have loaded in your machine. If you can't do that, or let's say that the profile is not available for that brand or that series or whatever, match it as close as possible. So if you have a gloss white vinyl that you're printing on and it's a 3 mil, then choose Oracal 3651 and then go to standard or high speed or whichever one that you want. Don't choose matte banner or anything. You're going to get better options or better print results if you actually get something within the same family of product. When you go outside that, you're going to get a lot of bleed, and with that, you're going to actually spend more money, because when we estimate that, your ink estimations are going to be a lot higher as well than what they might be on a gloss vinyl or a photo-based paper or something along that lines. But it will still allow you to print.
Okay. And then Roger had a question, comment. He said, I have an ongoing problem. I have Flexi 10 and I can't do a print and cut directly from Flexi. No errors, it just prints and then nothing.
And Flexi 10, okay. Again, if you would, first off, again, we'll address a few of these ideas for one, but send me an email. Make sure that, again, you go to help and about, and we want to go, and I want to know the build number as well as the software ID. That's going to help me at least get, in the ballpark for you. If you're actually sending jobs to do print and cut, so if we were to set up something here as a print cut job, and we rip and print this file, a lot of it's going to make a difference on this tab right here. When you click on this, if you have a print only machine and a separate vinyl cutter, you've got some setting changes to make. If you have a hybrid machine like the Roland and that's the only device in your production manager, it's a little bit simpler. But you want to make sure that this option here is either set as hybrid job, which means that on a Roland or a print cut unit, it's going to send the job to print, it's going to rewind and automatically then cut the job itself. If you have this set as print job only, it is only going to print the job, and same thing holds true with the contour. It'll only send the contour cut. So if you have a different brand of printer and a separate cutter, make sure, or multiple cutters for that matter, always make sure that this is set right, and make sure your send option here is set up as either hybrid job or print, or as separate jobs in some cases, because it might actually, if it's set as separate, it's going to send 2 jobs to your production manager. You'll have one in your print job queue, and then if you have a vinyl cutter over here, you'll notice there'll be a separate cut job for that cutter as well. So it might be just a simple setting change that you might need to look at in order to test that theory out. But we could also get support possibly, or I could do maybe a quick remote session to try to figure something out or help out a little bit there.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Bobby. Let's see here. We had a couple questions from John. So what is the latest build not for subscription? But Jason answered that and said 2718. So thank you, Jason, for helping John out with that. I appreciate that. Then he said, where do I get build 2718 for subscription version 12? And so John answered, said log into your account online and you can download the latest version, or support.
I'm sorry. Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay, so I'm not seeing or hearing some of these on a little bit. So maybe my connection's a little poor, but sorry about that. But yeah, thanks, Jason. Yeah, you should be able to log into your cloud account, basically click on your download option, and then at that point, install from there.
Yeah, thanks for helping him out with that. So I think we're getting ready to wrap up here. If anyone else has any more pressing questions, just go ahead and type those into the chat window. Or if you do have any recommendations or suggestions for next month's webinar, if you have a topic that you'd really like us to cover, go ahead and let us know. We can add that to our list. We always want to know what information is most valuable to you. So please let us know, or send Bobby an email. We've got his email address up there on the screen. And if that is everything, then I think we'll go ahead and close up for today, and we will see you folks next month.
All right. Thank you all for attending.